Hello, everyone. Welcome to this virtual space and, of course, the starting of a new term. With these slides, we will be starting our second term, and especially from this virtual channel. First, I would like to ask you or to remember your notebook, your agenda, or your computer for you to take notes uh, of the information that I will be sharing with you in this moment. First, I would like to um, remember or remind you some of the information that we were talking about in last class, especially the material that we studied from Holiday in the book Language, Context, and Text. And it was part of the presentations that you did on our last meeting. Well, first, regarding language and text in context, right? It is important to remember that we studied language as a social semiotic perspective. And we also talked about the importance of the social in language and context. We also studied the definition of semiotics, which is the study of meaning. And we also went over the nonverbal goings on, which referred to the total environment in which a text unfolds. And actually, it was part of one of the questions in the last partial, where some of you had to explain that. These nonverbal goings on refer especially to the context in which the text performances or the text occurs. Now, regarding text, we studied text as a social exchange of meaning. We also studied text as a process and as a product. It says instance of the process and product of social meaning in a particular context of situation. Remember the example that some of the students gave us regarding all the ingredients to prepare a recipe. And we agreed in the class that a text can be a process but also can be a product. Because while being part of the process, each of the text become a text itself. And then together, when we put them together, all these pieces of text, they become also a product. We usually, it is easier for us to see the text as a product because we see it as an oral production or written production. But here, the author remarks also that the text can be a process. Here we have an image, really interesting. According to Bott in 2000, he refers the text in context in this picture. We can see in the smaller circle, we have the text, right, surrounded by the context of situation, and then in a broader circle, the context of culture. We can say here, in other words, that the context of situation affects closer or primarily the text and then the context of culture. Remember what Malinowski did in the island. This is pretty much what the picture is trying to transmit with the three circles. We also went over the parameters or the features of context of situation. Remember, this was the last part of the material that we went over in the presentations. And here we have the field, right? The field reminding us like the context. Later we will see it in detail. And then we have the tenor referring to participants. And after that we have the mode referring to the function of language. The three of them are going to be useful for us to determine the context of situation. Here we have the three features in a more detailed presentation. Here we have the field of discourse, right? The field of discourse, referring to what the text is about or what is happening in the text. Then we have the tenor of discourse, referring to the writer's relationship with the reader and his attitude to subject matter. And then we have the mode of discourse. In the mode of discourse, it refers to how the content of the text is organized, okay? And if we go one by one, in the field, we have the relationship of the participants and the participants in the context, okay? Not referring to the participants itself, but to identifying who is being part of the text. All the relationship between the text and the processes, all the situations that are presented in the text, the circumstances that occur on the text, and the causation, right? What are those main causes of the processes in the text that we can actually identify, okay? And all these four components are referring to the context of the text, okay? Remember, one keyword or key phrase to recognize the field of discourse is what is happening in the text or what the text is about. Then we have the tenor of discourse. In the tenor of discourse, we especially recognize the participants or the persons who are participating in the text or taking part of the text. When we refer to the participants, remember, and we said it in class, that we need to take into account the roles of the participants, the personality of the participants, the relationship among or between them, okay, and the status, the social status they have in the text or in society, depending on the type of text. Here we also have like what is the mood, okay, of the participants when they participate in the text, when they are part of the text, if it is a declarative, a mood, or imperative or interrogative, depending on the verbal actions and non-verbal actions they have on the text. And we also include in this tenor of discourse adverbs, adjectives, and nouns to describe participants, okay? It's really important to have that into account. Sometimes those adverbs, adjectives, and nouns are visible in the text, but sometimes they are not, but it is easily we can actually recognize them easily in the text because they can be inferred depending on the field and depending on the information that the text provides us. Then we continue with the mode of discourse, referring to how the content of the text is organized, okay, and what is the function of language in the text. Here we have also some clues. For example, the semantic structure is a narrative, expository, or a descriptive structure which the text follows, okay? And this is easy to recognize. A narrative, we can see that in stories, in story tales, right? Expository, when we are studying or the text is exposing a phenomenon, right? And descriptive, of course, there is a description going on in the text. We may find different type of texts like or genre like informative, persuasive, and other texts are part of this component. Then we have the cohesion. Is the text cohesive and coherent, right, according to the structure that we can analyze in the text. And it says here overall organization. Of course, the mode also refers to the structure of the text, how the text is organized in sentences with connectors, with cohesion and coherence and all that part, all those aspects that are part of this item as well. Finally, we have here the relationship between language, context, and text. Remember, the author says that context and text needs to go together every time, and language affects positively or negatively the context and the text. We can also say that language relies on the study of the text, right? And remember that language are those available choices that I have to express a message or to communicate myself or the context or a picture or a sign or a signal or a symbol, whatever it's been the channel of communication. With context and text, we have that context refers with the text, right? And it goes beyond what is said and what is written. We also find, again, the nonverbal goings on, referring to the situation in which the text unfolds or performances or is presented. And then we also have that context and text, it's the bridge between text and situation where the text occurs. And remember the example our friends, our classmates were talking about or presenting in the presentations with the picture of the bridge, the symbol or the element of the bridge, connecting, right, the context and text to represent these three terms. And in real life, it says context precedes text. Of course, the context gives meaning to the text, and it's part of the representation of meaning. Okay, so up to that part, I would like you to meet virtually. Okay, pay attention to this. Meet virtually in groups of 3 students. Okay, and find. Remember last class I told you to print storytell, maximum 1.5 pages or minimum 1 page, right? And so that the storytell is not that long, but that length I think it will work pretty well for what I will ask you to do. The idea is to read the text, identify those aspects. Especially, I would like you to present like a report, right? Taking into account the field of discourse, you will present a report on the field. What is the field? Here you have some ideas that you may have into account and the notes that you wrote last class or last term. Also, to define the tenor of discourse, you will need to analyze all the participants in terms of the person, the mood, the adverb, subjective, and also the other aspects that I already mentioned before. And in the mode of discourse, I ask you to do your analysis in terms of the function of language and all the aspects that already were presented. I will actually clarify all this information in an email, but the idea is you to start working. You don't need to go to anybody's house. The idea is you to do it, to meet virtually, to meet on the internet or via WhatsApp or on your cell phones or whatever, any media that you find accessible from your home. The idea is not to move or to go to anybody's house to prevent all the circumstances that we are living or passing by now. So that's all for this lesson. In the email, I will let you know what is the deadline for this assignment. Thank you very much.